I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey, you guys, happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the News du Jour. We've seen a huge uptick in our listenership, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for trusting us with your news in these unprecedented times. These are, we have some scary things going on right now, and I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you coming here for your news, and we hope that it gives you a calmer space to consume the news. First up today, of course, we are starting out with a ton of stories coming out of Ukraine. Fortunately, I'm not hearing a lot about violence as of yet, so this is good so far. But a lot has happened in terms of Western nations kind of responding to what's going on and, calling for action. So let's dive into some of these updates. So first up, Germany has halted its pipeline construction. So Germany has really been between a rock and a hard place when it comes to Ukrainian-Russian conflict, because on the one hand, they are close to Ukraine, kind of, and would likely like to see them join NATO. But on the other hand, they have a big deal brokered with Russia, and they want to build this giant oil pipeline called Nord Stream 2, and it was already pretty much underway. The deal was really a win-win scenario that provides Germany with fuel and Russia with cash. Both sides were excited about this. So Germany stayed quiet about the conflict more so than a lot of other European countries who are swooping in to try and help quell the violence or, smooth things over with Putin, etc. But Germany stayed out of that conversation, but no longer. Their hand has kind of been forced by the invasion of Ukraine, and Germany has now announced that they will be halting any work on the natural gas pipeline Nord Stream 2. This announcement came mere hours after the Kremlin moved to invade, so it's clear that Germany was planning this move long beforehand and just waiting, like the rest of us, to see if Putin would actually dare to make a move. And now that he has, Germany has responded in kind with a move that they never wanted to make, but have been forced to, given the circumstances. So next up, Zielinski Speaks Out. So like we mentioned in yesterday's episode, and I highly recommend if you haven't listened to yesterday or the day before's episode, I would listen to those two back to back because that really chronicles the escalation of everything. But like we mentioned in yesterday's episode, President Zielinski of Ukraine had not said much publicly on the conflict and the imminent danger. But all that changed yesterday when he addressed the nation. He rallied his people saying, quote, "If we are silent today, then tomorrow we will disappear," end quote. He called for the Ukrainian reserves to prepare to fight for their country and that everyday Ukrainians do the same. And next up, we'll kind of go over the U.S.'s response to everything that's happening and, what we've been hearing from Biden, etc. So senators from both sides of the aisle are now putting their heads together behind closed doors, drafting legislation for sanctions against Russia. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham literally said, quote, "The Biden administration has misjudged Putin about as badly as anyone since the world misjudged Hitler," End quote. He then and many others called for the strongest sanctions ever seen against Russia. You guys have probably heard the phrase sanctions against Russia so many times that it has lost all meaning, or at least that's how I feel about it. I feel like we have been imposing sanctions against Russia for years and years and years, maybe my whole life, due to bad acting, and yet they are still acting out. That said, it will be different this time. The sanctions that are necessary here need to be felt by the Kremlin and the Russian people. So they will be far more far-reaching and drastic, and I don't know exactly what they're going to entail yet. That is up for Congress to decide, as well as the White House, but we will let you guys know exactly what it's going to look like if those specifics are revealed in the near future. So stay tuned on that. But this is just one of the measures that the White House and Congress are taking up. You know, again, a lot of these conversations are going to go on behind closed doors before they're announced to the American people. But Biden gave a speech yesterday that detailed plans to cut off Russia effectively and support our allies with additional warplanes and troops in NATO territory. He stated that this is strictly a defensive mechanism. He does not want to prompt any violence. He simply wants to protect our NATO allies. He ended up saying that we will judge Russia by its actions and not its words, seeing as Putin continues to say that he's backing down when we see that he has no intention of doing so. Blinken, the Secretary of State, also canceled a meeting with his Russian counterpart, and videos have been leaked showing the burning of documents in a Russian consulate in Ukraine. So, sketchy. What else is new? We don't really know exactly what those documents might be or what that really might mean for this overall conflict, but just wanted to share these little tidbits as they're coming out. Additionally, the markets are in a free fall in correlation to the instability and uncertainty of this. So the sanctions against Russia will definitely put a strain on costs here at home. And gas prices will likely go up, among other things. And this obviously has the markets spooked. They don't like uncertainty. They don't like global instability. So all of those things are factors right now going on in the world. So the markets are just absolutely falling. But I want to keep you guys eyes on the prize. Senators on both sides of the aisle and members of the House are speaking out that we need sanctions. This is not something that's sort of like a maybe. It's definitely needed. And in fact, Republican senators are calling in even more aggressive turns for sanctions. So this is something that everybody wants. It's just sort of like how to best go about it to protect the American economy and American jobs and American life, so that we're not as affected, because ultimately it will have some ripple effects to the American people. As things unfold with Ukraine, I've said this before, but we'll kind of start with an update. Hopefully there won't be as much to update you guys on in the coming days, but we'll kind of start off with an update so you guys know where things stand, because obviously this is the biggest thing going on in the world right now. And next up, Ahmaud Arbery's killers were found guilty of hate crimes. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on this really important case. If you remember, these three men were already found guilty of murdering at the state level, but they were going on to face federal charges of hate crimes against Ahmaud. The jury in this case would need to decide whether or not these men pursued and killed Arbery because he was black, which is something that actually can be hard to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in some cases. But in this case, the jury definitely felt that these men did indeed chase down 25-year-old Arbery because of his skin and killed him for the same, committing a federal hate crime. The men will now face possible life sentencing in the near future. But these charges, as a reminder, will just be on top of their life sentences that they got at the state level. So this is just, kind of cinching it. If you think about it, like potentially they could have appealed their guilty charges at the state level, but at this point that would kind of be moot because they would then have to turn around and also challenge these charges, these federal charges. So this greatly reduces the chances of them ever getting out again to see the light of day. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "Dreams are lovely, but they're just dreams. Fleeting, ephemeral, pretty. But dreams don't come true just because you dream them. It's hard work that makes things happen." If you enjoyed this episode, please consider becoming a patron of our podcast. For $7.99 a month, you can unlock tons of perks like breaking news text messages so that you're never out of the loop. Tons of bonus episodes are already up there ready for you to binge, and a discussion board full of networking opportunities and much more. Go to www.patreon.com/sugarfree media today to become a patron. This is the best way to support our show. Our patrons make News du Jour possible. But a couple other ways to support our podcast are rate and review on whatever podcast platform you use to listen, share on your social media, you have influence, tell your friends, family, and colleagues that you love News du Jour and why you listen. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram, just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok, and sugarfree_media on Twitter. We also have a weekend newsletter called Dreamers Digest that's full of dreamy content recommendations for your weekend and a life update from yours truly. Sign up today on our website, www.sugarfreemedia.co. Our music is by Joey Lavoie and Nicholas Foster. Our cover art is by Hannah Pierce Photography. Our Sugar Free Media logo is by Catherine Jezik Designs. Any twinkling or little footsteps you might hear in the background are by my dog, Rhett. He's a rescue pup and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour. Broadcasting from Oklahoma.